Morning, everyone. So hope my voice will not have any interruptions today because I have connected my audio through my mobile and connected my screen to my laptop. All right, let's start. We were supposed to get the demo finished yesterday, but due to some technical interruptions, we were not able to do that. We will get that done today. So I was about to give a quick introduction of what robotic process automation is. So robotics process automation is nothing but you're automating some manual process. You're creating a robot. When I say robot, it means a program or a piece of code you have written. You have created a program or you have written a piece of code. When executed, it will automate a manual process. What kind of manual processes? Which are repetitive in nature. If you take one, for example, daily in the morning you come, you fill in your time sheets, you send it to your supervisor. Now that is a repetitive task, right? Daily you come, you spend 15 to 20 minutes on filling the time sheet. Daily you come, you send the update status update email to your business. You write a couple of points, you send the status update. That's again a repetitive task. Right. So no matter what kind of employee you are, be it a developer, be it a software engineer, be it a middleware team, be it a support team, or no matter what kind of domain you are, healthcare, retail, finance, what there will be some kind of repetitive work involved, right? So that repetitive work can be automated. That automation itself is called robotic process automation. So you are creating a robot, a virtual robot, to automate a manual process. So in a real-time scenario, where will this exactly be useful and how is it benefitful to us? Okay, just have a look at that. So I know that a lot of people shop online. We shop in Amazon, we shop in Snapdeal, we shop in Flipkart, right? Let us say that you try to purchase something from an Amazon, and for some reason the money has been debited, but the order has not been placed. Okay, so in this scenario, what would you do? You would immediately call the customer care. You would say that the money has been debited, and you will give all your information, your account information, your payment transaction type, the amount that has been debited, the kind of product you are planning to purchase, all that information you would give, and the customer client would say, the customer care would say, within the next 24 hours, you'd get your refund. Now, what do you think happens in the next 24 hours? There will be an employee working in Amazon who would actually working on your ticket. So a ticket or an email will be generated to his mailbox. And then he starts first validating your information by connecting to database. He'll check whether your account type is correct or not, your payment transaction type is correct or not. All this information he will cross validate and then he will verify. Once the verification is done, he'll start initiating the refund. If it is debit card or credit card, he'll use one method. If it's a gift card, he'll use another method. If it's a Paytm wallet or some other wallet, he'll use a different method, right? So depending upon the kind of transaction you did, the refund procedure would be different. Once he has initiated the refund, what would he do? Then he would go into the web-based application and then he will close the ticket that has been assigned to him. Right? So these are the pretty much the steps he is following to solve some person's issue where the order has not been placed. So on a daily basis, you take sites like Amazon, 7 lakhs to 10 lakhs people shop online. Out of that, even if you take 1% failure rate, that means around 5,000 people or around 10,000 people get order failures. So there will be at least 50 to 100 employees working in Amazon doing the same thing over and over and over again. They'll get there some information, they'll cross-validate into the database. They will reset the refund. Now, what if this process can be automated? So that's repetitive in nature. A lot of people are spending a lot of time on it, right? So what I would do is I will create a program which will be monitoring those emails, or which will be monitoring that particular web application. The moment it receives an email, it automatically starts validating the select queries, automatically starts executing select queries in the database, automatically starts retrieving the data, cross verifying the information, automatically initiates a defund. By automating this process, I was able to save 50 employees worth of time, probably more. Right. So if you take in finance, we have loan approval system that procedural checks they'll check through when they're approving someone's loan is also repetitive in nature. Or in HR, when you send background verification documents, the procedure they'll follow to verify your address, verify your documentation is correct or not, all that also is in repetitive nature, right? So not just this kind of verifications, any kind of work you take, you'll feel like this some chunk of the process is repetitive. Now, as an RPA, we target those ones and then we start automating them. Now, what kind of RPA tools we use to automate this process? We have Blue Prism, Automation Anywhere, OpenSpan, UiPath, and so on, right? Which tool to start with? What are the prerequisites for RPA, and what is the career? How is the career going to be in future? So these are the three questions that usually get asked. You know that we are getting to talk about the tool, but overall, for an RPA, how is the career growth? And there will be some kind of silly questions like what kind of hike are we expecting, how much salary, average salary would you get? All this information is what kind of experienced people, how much experienced people this is better for. So let's start with prerequisites. What do we need to know to learn RPA? How much time does it take to learn any of these tools? Those are the kind of questions that anyone is interested in. Okay, so what do we need to know? We do not have to know any programming language. All you need to know is the loops and logic of normal programming language. What do you mean by loops and logic? Means you should be aware of what if else condition is. You should be aware of what for loop is. You should be, it's not syntactically, you should understand what that does functionally. Syntactically, from program language to program language, it differs a lot. But no matter what you take, .NET, Python, C Sharp, Java, anything you take, if else condition behaves in the same way. Your for loop behaves in the same way. It's not like if else condition you'll behave in a different way here or in a different way there, right? You might also need to have a bit of or like basic. I would say less than 5% of it, but it's not mandatory. It's good to have. So pretty much these are the prerequisites. You should be having a bit of SQL as well. Basic select queries, basic CRUD operations. Create, delete, update, insert. So this is good enough. Okay. Now, from a learning curve perspective, which tool is better to learn with? How much time will it take for me to master a certain tool? Can I learn any two tools at the same time? These are the common kind of questions that usually anyone is interested in. So first question, if I answer, which tool is better to start with? I would say any tool is better to start with, but again, even though I say any tool can be better to start with, there will be certain pros and cons for each tool, right? So if I take one for example, UiPath is a really good tool if you want to have a really good growth in the career, because UiPath has recently started emerging as one of the best tools in RPA market out there. The only catch in here is for UiPath you need to have a little bit of .NET knowledge, because the kind of coding we'd be writing in UiPath, the synthetically you might be referring to .NET or C Sharp, or express like complex data types, or you should understand what arrays are, what list the difference between these two, what are enumerators, what are all these things you should be aware of. Okay, next, Blue Prism and automation anywhere. You do not have to have any programming language to start with. Both are good tools to start, but look at other things also. What kind of openings are there outside? If you take 100 companies in the market, there are 55 to 60 companies using Blue Prism, 30 to 35 use automation anywhere, 15 to 20 use Visualpath. Now, why is there the fluctuation on that? Is it because one tool can do better than that, or is it because one tool has a higher opportunity than the other? It's not that. Any client, when he's trying to use a tool, he'll see the cost. The licensing cost of the Blue Prism is cheaper comparatively the other tools. So we have two licenses. One is called as a runtime license, and we also have development license. So the runtime license for the Blue Prism is cheaper compared to other three tools. The kind of functionality they provide is pretty much the same among all the tools. Whatever RPA A tool can do, B tool also can do the same thing. Whatever Blue Prism can do, automation anyway can do. This the same thing Visualpath also can do. The licensing cost, that's where the factor lies at. Okay, so if you take the number of openings perspective, Blue Prism is a good tool to start with. Okay, however, no matter what tool you start with, from a learning curve, I don't think we'll see any problem. Second is it fine if I start learning against two tools at the same time? I wouldn't recommend that. That will create a lot of confusion. First thing I would say is the 70% of the portion is same in both the tools. So if you're learning one tool, automatically you're covering 70% of other tool as well. However, the rest of the 30% is going to confuse you. Don't start both at the same time. The reason because now you'll not be able to concentrate properly. Get one, spend 2 times on one tool, to spend 2 months on one tool, try to get familiar to that, and then probably you can start learning the other tool. Okay, never stand on both, two boards at the same time. Okay, so, and if I talk about the learning, actual learning, Blue Prism is easy to learn, but tough to master. And say BP and A. Next, let us get back to the tool. So the current version of Blue Prism we are using is version 5. The current version we are using is version 5 in the industry, and the version that is latest is version 6. So as part of the course, we'll be focusing on version 6 itself. Version 6 is where we are going to get installed. Version 6 is where you are going to learn Blue Prism or your RPA skills. However, just keep in note that in interview, the possibility of asking questions from version 5 is really high because the version 6 has released not even 6 months back. So again, version 6 is nothing but version 5 from extra features. You are not losing anything. In fact, you are gaining more. Just that, have a look at both the tools. All right. So let us start. The moment you open your Blue Prism, you get these weird funky charts. They are called as dashboard. They're nothing but the graphical representation of the code you have written, the bots that are executing. So whatever code they are written and whatever the code that's executing, it just gives you an overall status. These many times the code executed successfully, still these many times it failed. This much out of the database is filled, these many resources are up and running. this much of the volume has been processed. So all this information is done. You cannot edit or redo anything. It's just for the client glance to have. The real chunk of portion where you would spend your time is the studio tab. The studio tab is this is the place where you would actually write your code. Under the studio, we have two components. One is a process studio, and then there is an object studio. Process studio. Why do we have two components, and what do we do in both? See, both are the components where you write your code, but they have the kind of code you are writing is segregated into two different places. So if you take one for example, in the previous example of Amazon that I have given, what applications do you think the employee has used to solve the ticket? I said he will be receiving an email, so you'd be using either Outlook or Lotus Notes or some mail messenger service. Okay, so he received an email. The email would have the ticket information and the ticket number. He will click on the ticket number, which will open a website, that incident management. It could be HPSM, or it could be as ITSM or a service manager or remedy or whatever tool, incident based tool is. So he'll open the web based application. It could be a Chrome or IE, some browser, and he will retrieve the ticket description and details. What is the SLA of the ticket? What is the what is that he wants to do? What the account information? All that information is present. Then he'll connect it to the DB. He'll start validating the information. Probably he'll write the outputs into an Excel file, and finally go back to that web application and close the ticket. So this is what he's doing. He's using 4 applications as part of his workflow. He's using an email messenger service. He's using a browser. He's using a database, be it SQL or MySQL or Microsoft SQL, and then he's using Excel as well, right? So the same way, where a human has used these applications to get his work done. Now, when we are automating this process using Blue Prism, means instead of you, the Blue Prism will do it on your behalf. Right, when you automate this process, the Blue Prism has to also access these applications to perform the same task. So the Blue Prism should have access to these applications. The Blue Prism should do click function, fill text box, choose drop down, click on the button. All these actions you are doing on the applications, the Blue Prism also has to do, right? So the piece of code you are writing should be written separately for each application in a different page. All the Outlook related code should be written in one page. All the Chrome related code or IE related code will be written in one page. All the database related code will be written in one page, and all the Excel related code will be written in one page. Now, why do we have this kind of segregation? Is to have the reusability in place. If I have a different work which is also using Outlook, I can use this Outlook code in there as well. To have that kind of reusability, we are having different pages for each application. Now, how many applications I used in this process? 4 applications. So how many blank pages I need to write my code into? 4 different blank pages for 4 applications. Now, those blank pages are called as objects, or simply business objects. Your business objects is the place where you would write your code related to your application. Click on this button, choose a drop down, all that information.
Hello.
Yes, tell me.
Hello. Sorry to disturb you, sir. Sir, can you zoom that? Can you zoom that screen? It's not properly.
All right. I can change my resolution. There is no zoom option in. Hopefully that would get things clear. Just tell me if you have. How is it now? Anything better?
Yeah, a bit better. Okay, thank you.
Oh, it's readable, right? Okay, not worries.
Yeah.
So now a business object is nothing but a place where you would write your piece of code to automate an application, each application. So how many applications you have, those many objects you would create. Now, what is a process? Process is nothing but a manager where or which controls these objects that you have created. Now, you have created 4 business objects as part of that Amazon process that I was speaking about, right? Now, these 4 objects should be controlled by one master. Now, that master or the manager is called a process. Now, what does a process do is process does the business logic or the business decisions. If else conditions. If the auto status is failure, then initiate refund. Then if the auto status is not failure, then close the ticket. If the payment transaction type is equal to net banking, do this particular task. So the business decisions, business logic, the arithmetic calculations, the proper process logically present in the process, the actions, click on this button, choose this drop down value, all that will be present in the business object. Let us have a clear distinction right now to understand what each one would do. I'll start with the process and we'll eventually move on to business object and see how different one is from another. So to create a new process, I'm creating a new process, I'm writing a sample piece of code. To create a new process, right click on the processes and choose create process. Ideally, your name of the process should be the name of the work you're planning to automate. So any kind of work you're automating, you usually have a name, offer administration, or else you have invoice validation, process generation, GAR report, some kind of work that name, some kind of name that work has, right? For now, I'll just use this, since this is a demo class, I'll just call it as demo. So the moment you open your Blue Prism process page, this is how it looks like. This is called as workspace, this area. This is where you write your piece of code. And these are the actions you will be using to write that piece of code. When you say write, you're not actually writing anything syntactically, rather you're just dragging and dropping things. The code will look like a flowchart, not in a lines of code, but it actually kind of looks like a flowchart. A flowchart has a start and end stage. The same way, the page already by default has start and end stage. Any piece of code you're planning to write should be written in between these two. Let us start with something basic, something simple. I want to add 2 numbers. Simple as that. From a programming perspective, how do you add 2 numbers? You assign, first you create 2 variables where you need to store those numbers. You assign those variables with numbers, you assign the data type, what kind of data it's handling, and then you perform the arithmetic operation on it, right? The same thing I'll be doing here as well. So in Blue Prism language, these variables are called as data items. Variables are nothing but where you store your values. You can store only one value in each variable. So I'm planning to store 2 numbers, so I need 2 variables. Drag and drop 2 data items onto your workspace. In Blue Prism language, these variables are called as data items. Okay, so double click on the data item to start filling in your values. First, give a name to that data item, give a name to that variable, or give a name to that storage room. I'll call this data item as X. Next, specify what kind of data you want to choose. I want to choose a number. Apart from number, you can see there is a text, password, time, time span, image, date, time, binary. So we can store any kind of data in here. The one I want to store is number. You do not have to be explicit like int 32, decimal, float, long. Any kind of number can be stored under this number. You can store fractions, you can store decimals. You do not have any specific limit of the number you can store, the digits of the number you can store. So I've just given minus 55.2. What have I done? I have created a data item called X and I stored a value of minus 55.2 in it. Similarly, I'll create a data item Y and I'll store a number of 22.3. I've created data items X and Y with values minus 55.2 and 22.3 in it. Now, I would like to start adding these values. I want to perform a calculation. To start adding these values, drag and drop the calculation stage onto your workspace. Okay, calculation is where you do your calculations. Pretty much, this is self-explanatory. So, to your right, when you open that calculation stage, to your right side is a panel which contains all the data items that you have created. Currently, I have created 2 data items under the data type number. So, if I expand numbers, you can see both of my data types are present in here. So, my expression is x, add the value present in x, plus add the value present in y. The answer that comes is also a number which should be stored in a third variable. So I'll create a variable called z and I'll assign a data type number to it and then I'll store it. So instead of dragging and dropping the data type again doing all that, you can just write z value here where I want to store my result in and then click on this button. This button will automatically create the data item for us with the required type. What I've done, I've started. I have written x plus y is equal to z, and then I have ended it. So as I said, this is a flow chart. So any piece of code you're writing should go through start and end. It had to start from the start stage, perform your task, and reach the end stage. Your data items need not be linked because they are nothing but the carriers. The actual execution, the actual calculation is happening at the calculation stage itself. So if you execute it now, you start, you add your x and y, and you reach your z. The minus at 2.9, you can see, has been loaded onto your z value. Now what I would like to do is I would like to check whether the z value is positive or negative. If the z value is positive, I would like to divide it with 2. If the z value is negative, I want to multiply it with 2. Simple as that. So usually how do you check whether a condition is true or false? Use if else. If z greater than 0, then z is equal to z into 2. If z less than 0, then z is equal to z divided by 2. That kind of logic you try, right? If else conditions. So same thing we'll be writing here, but since this is a flowchart, we will not actually or exactly use if else. We rather use decision box. Decision is a rhombus faced figure, rhombus shaped figure, which you guys would be familiar if you are using flowcharts, which would split a condition and check whether it's a true or not. So if it is true, it moves this side. If it is false, it moves this side. All right. So where do I have to put my decision box? Right after the calculation is done, not before it. You start, you add, then you check the value of z. Double click on the decision box to write your condition. My condition is z greater than 0. If it is true, I should multiply z with 2. That means I'm doing a calculation again, so I need a calculation box. What should I do? Multiply z with 2. So z into 2. The value should be stored again in the z itself. A data item can hold only one value. If you're giving a new value to it, it replaces the old value. So if it is true, the first time you drag and drop, it becomes a S path or the true path. Means if the condition is true, it goes this side. If the condition is false, it moves this side. So here, divide. What should I do? Z divided by 2 is equal to Z. Now when I execute this, The current value of Z is minus 32.9, so it will divide and becomes minus 16.45. If you observe. The same way, if I change this to plus 55.2 rather and re-execute it again, you can see 77.2 has become 155. So this is how you will be writing your code within the Blue Prism. What we have seen is how to automate something inside a process. Now we'll see how it is different from a business object and what we'll be doing exactly in a business object. So what we have done so far is just doing the calculations. What I want to do is I want to automate a small task instead. So RPA is meant for process automation, not doing these calculations. This can be done using .NET even as a character, as using a calculator as well. What I want to do is I want to automate a small task. So I want to automate Notepad. I want to launch the Notepad. I want to write something into the Notepad and then close the Notepad automatically. I want my Blue Prism to perform those actions automatically. So what I'm doing is I'm planning to automate an application. So far I have done it in a process, but as I said, anything you want to do in application should be written at business object level. All right. So what do? Is you create a new business object. The way you created your process, you right click on those objects and then you choose create object. The name of the object should ideally be the name of the application that you are automating on. So just call it as Notepad. From the look and feel perspective, you can see it kind of looks like your process. In fact, it exactly looks like your process, but there are minor functional differences. We'll find it out today in the later of post this business object is part is done. So what I want to do is I want to automate the application Notepad. So first step is to launch the Notepad. To launch any application, the basic thing you need to know is where is that application present. If you're not aware of where the application is present, nothing can launch. Even the Blue Prism cannot launch. So you need to specify the application's executable path in the business object to able to make that launch possible. So you're telling Blue Prism to launch the application. So you need to specify where the exe is present. Where do you specify the exe is in the application model? So application model is nothing but a mediator between the application and Blue Prism that you are interacting. So open the application modeler. My application name is simply Notepad. What kind of application is my Notepad? My Notepad is a Windows-based application. So choosing that. My application is launched from an executable file. Yes. Um, so where is it? It's present in Windows folder. In C Windows Notepad.exe is my executable path. For some people, it will be present in C Windows System 32 folder. Inside that, you need to go one extra step, System 32, but mostly it is present in Windows folder only for the latest Windows 10 and Windows 8. You can ignore these blocks for now, they are not necessary. So I'm clicking on next and then finish. The moment you click on finish, the Blue Prism has accepted the .exe. So when you click on this launch button, the notepad should actually launch. That means it is successfully integrated. Now, let us start doing. My first step is to launch the notepad. So what we have here is something called as a navigate stage. Your navigate stage is used pretty much to do anything on an application. If you want to click on the application, if you want to launch, if you want to terminate, if you want to pretty, choose something from a drop down, anything, pretty much anything you want to do inside an application, you will be doing on this using the navigate stage. So drag and drop the navigate stage onto your workspace. Double click on the navigate stage. To your left side is the application that you're planning to use. To right side is the action that you want to perform. Okay, what I want to perform, I want to perform the launch action on the notepad. So drag and drop the notepad to your element. From the list of actions, choose launch. Simple. What we are doing? Launch notepad. You start, you launch notepad, and then you end. So this is just the first step I'm doing. So you starting, it is launching the notepad, and then it is ending. My next step is to write something into the notepad. Ideally, how do you type into a notepad? You just start typing your keyboards. The moment you start typing your keyboards, the input will be taken by the notepad, and wherever the cursor is present, you'll start typing in there. The Blue Prism also has to replicate the same thing. So what would it would do is it will also send the keystrokes. It also will send the key inputs. Okay, but virtually rather than typing from the keyboard. So we have a send keystrokes option within the Blue Prism, which would help you do that. So drag and drop the navigate stage again, notepad. From the list of actions, use global send keys or global send key strokes. This actually will send the keys to the notepad application. What you want to type should be written in the bottom. What I want to type is some random sentence. What you have written is a string or a text. So that's the reason you need to put inside the double quotes. Okay. So what am I doing here? Write to notepad. Let us link it and execute and see if it's working as expected. You start, you are launching your notepad, you are writing into that notepad. My third step is to close this notepad. To close that notepad also we have an option called as terminate. We observe in the navigate stage itself, the third action is present is the terminate action. What am I doing? I'm launching notepad, I'm writing to that notepad, and finally I'm closing that notepad as well. Terminate means kill, stop. Okay. So if you observe anything related to the application I'm doing here, anything related to the logic I'm doing in my process, if you look at the differences, your process will not be able to do it because the main things that are missing here are the application model is missing. If you see, the navigate stage is missing. These are the two key components we are doing to automate an application. Those two key components are not present in the process because your process cannot perform anything on an application level. Only your object can. The process is just there to perform operations like business decisions, business logic, or actual actions will be present on your notepad. Any questions so far? Anyone has? All right. So this is a demo session that for the Blue Prism tool. I'll just give you a brief summary on what will we be going to cover as part of the course. Okay. So course duration is for 25 days. So if you are coming from Monday to Saturday, depends on how you want to take it. It will come for 4 weeks. Or if you're coming from Monday to Friday, comes for 5 weeks. Course total is for okay. Let us talk about the course duration. As part of the course, I'll be giving you guys, you can still hear me, right? You haven't or did not see any response from anyone. Just wanted to confirm if you guys can still hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, all right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. I thought since one is responding. Anyways, so moving on, the course has as part of the course we'll be covering two live projects or two scenario-based projects plus two POCs plus three use cases. Your first week we'll be focusing on getting familiar to the tool. You know, getting familiar to Blue Prism, understanding the key differences between this tool and the other tools, and how exception handling is done, how sensitive information is stored, what kind of things we would follow. All these things will be coming as part of your first week. Your second week is where you start your first project, which is on a Windows-based, automating a Windows-based application. Your, and we also will be covering your first POC, which is on Excel consolidation. And Excel as data, treating Excel itself as database. The third week, we'll be focusing on your second project. Third week, mid, somewhere on the mid of third week. The start of third week, we'll be focusing on some of the components like environmental locking, life cycle, documentation, FTE calculations, development effort estimations. All that will be part of your start of the third week. Somewhere in the mid of the third week, we will be starting second project, which is on web-based application. We'll be covering important concept called work use in here, and Windows-based will be covering important topic called dynamic attributes. Okay. And we'll be covering our second POC on PDF integration extraction, PDF extraction, Citrix based automation. So this is your, so on the 4th week, so end of the 4th week, because the second project itself will take. So this will be your last of the 4th week. Got it? So any questions?
Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Is it online mode or offline mode?
It's online class. The way we did demo,
Online.
it looks similar.
What are the timings?
Visualpath has yet to decide on that. They have not specified anything to me, but we can just ask them.
Yeah, hi Jane.
No, I mean,
Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, as you said, email checking. How can we check the new emails regarding the today or yesterday? How can we justify that?
You are talking about email automation.
Yes, yes.
So we have something called as IMAP or POP3,
Okay.
which is a web service exchange, which does help us
Okay.
to enumerate through emails and then get the ones we want through a mailbox.
Yeah, POP3 is
So to
using
send
for
emails,
the.
yeah, post office protocols, and we use IMAP protocols as well.
Yes,
For
yes.
sending, we use SMT protocols. We will be using that as part of the tool.
For example, I want to send a subject related answering. Is it?
We'll be using SMTP.
Sorry. I am using the subject related answering for the mails.
Okay.
How can we do that?
We can make the content dynamic. We can perform the variable authentication, and then we can send it.
Is there any sorry? Is there any options to giving the subjects depending on the subject related answering?
We can use a decision. First, get the subject out of it. Okay.
Okay.
The parse it the way you want, and then perform the task, and then send an email.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
what is the course fee?
All that you have to ask Visualpath. Anything technical, you can ask me. If you are not talking, please mute because I see a lot of background noise coming in. All right, guys. Anything technical, you can ask me. Like, I am from this particular so and so background. How can I expect the career opportunities, or how much time will this take to make? So anything related to Blue Prism or anything related to RP, you can always ask me. If you
Yeah,
have anything
Jayant, one
related
more
to
question.
monitoring things, yeah.
Yeah, you are dealing with two projects. What are those?
So one is a Windows-based application, the extraction of a table from a Windows-based, and then there
Okay.
is a web-based, which is something similar to IRCTC. What we'll be doing is we'll be processing the travel queries in parallel in two different machines.
Is there any real-time projects available
These are the
for
real-time
explanation?
projects.
IRCTC I already done.
Something similar to IRCTC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jane.
Hello.
Yes, tell me.
So for this, we need to get a lot of knowledge for the coding for RPA.
Not required. It's not required. It is not for Blue Prism.
Okay, but in future, somebody told me we should know a lot of knowledge like about the coding and everything.
Not at all required. See,
In future
when
also,
you
sir.
talk about the coding, right, it means that loops and logic. So you are able to understand what we have done today. That's more than enough for you to getting started. However, in going future, probably you can have a bit of familiarity on VBA because you might be using an Excel. But from interview perspective, or from joining the perspective, like as a beginner, you don't have to know any programming language. But keep with continuity, eventually you have to have a bit of JavaScript and then VB scripting.
So in future also we use only Blue Prism. You are telling, right, sir?
Exactly. It depends on what tool your client is using.
So okay, even for experienced people also, this knowledge is enough or required more knowledge?
How much experience you expect? When you say experienced,
3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years in RPA or oral experience?
Experience, 3 to 4 years.
In RPA.
Yes.
Then you would be an architect. You don't even be a developer. They'll be estimating the FTE calculations. You'll be doing the development effort estimations. You'll be creating the process templates. You'll be doing. You'll be an architect then. I doubt even you will touch the tool in that scenario. You'll be doing the tech feasibility. You'll be doing the assessments. All the analysis you'd be doing if you're enough an architecture at 3 to 4 years level.
Okay. So is the training is enough for the experienced candidates, sir?
It is. Yes.
Sorry, sir?
Yes, it is. I'll be covering those concepts as well. Yeah.
Sure.
So even for the architect, like for 3 to 4 years, this training is good enough?
Depends from company to company. So when you're saying if you have 3 to 4 years experience as an RPA, it doesn't mean they will give you the architect role. It depends on your overall experience. What were you doing as part of your RPA over those 3 years? What was your contribution? What is your current role? All these things will come into picture.
Okay.
But
In
this
general,
course
if
is
you're
more
trying,
if in general if you're trying for architect, then I think 3.5 years to 4 years is a good experience. Probably the main thing they would check is you should be certified. Ideally, anyone will do AD01 certification. That's a normal certification in Blue Prism. But if you're planning to get into architect, you should do SC01 application as well. Solution Analyst 01.
okay.
So it's a bit tougher comparatively. So we need to do that certification as well. They're
And
not
for the
again not.
certifications, do we need to know the scripting?
No. See, the solution analysts don't even ask any questions on Blue Prism. None. I've written the certification for AD01. They'll ask questions on Blue Prism tool. They won't go beyond anything. They won't even touch it on .NET. They won't even touch on C#. They won't go out of the tool. 100% of the questions of AD01 application developer 01, 100% of the questions will be on the tool itself. Okay. For solution architect one, they won't even touch the tool at all. All the questions will be on process oriented, not coding, not the tool. They'll say that I have this process which estimates which takes this much of effort. These are the applications that are used. What is the total development effort? You can estimate how many resources are needed. What is this kind of questions they'll ask? What is the kind of benefit? What is the RTO value you will be getting? That kind of questions they'll ask in solution architect. What is the best approach to do this? What kind of accesses should be maintained? When do you think is the best time to rework this aspect? From a control perspective, how do you ensure? So these kind of questions I'll ask you in solution architect exam. Got it? Everything from process and control standpoint.
Hello.
Yes.
As a fresher, what can I expect the job opportunities for this RPA?
Fortunately, unless you don't put some experience in RPA, you will not be getting any calls. As simple as that.
So what will be the minimum experience required?
So,
1.5 years.
and since the tool is new, like how will be the interview? Is it like compared to the other tools, is it like easy or will that be tough?
It used to be easy in year and 2 years ago, but now the interview became tougher because pretty much everyone who is asking the questions in the panel is experienced on Blue Prism. Blue Prism, it's been there since 2012 in India. So I've got my Blue Prism training. I got my Blue Prism certification in 2014. If you think it now, it's almost 3.5 years. So people in parallel will have at least 2 to 2.5 years experience on Blue Prism. So the interviews are tougher now, at least for the good companies. I'm currently working in a banking firm, one of the product-based companies.
What about
Currently,
US?
what about UiPath?
No, US. What about in
Okay,
US?
okay, yes. I think the questions will be mostly on process based because the clients, usually the panels will sit there, not have much idea on the Blue Prism tool. They'll have set of 10 or 15 questions they'll keep asking, the basic to basic. They ask questions on the process orientation. Like, what was your technical challenges? They'll not ask you direct questions on tool. They'll ask what kind of issues did you face when you released the bot into production? How did you ensure the UAT progress has gone smoothly? What kind of defects have been solved? What kind of test cases you have created as part of your process? All these questions they'll ask in real time.
Okay.
Got it? Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hello.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, actually I came from mainframe background.
Mm-hmm.
It's been already 6+ years.
Okay.
If I write this RPA and if I keep, I mean, as you said, if I keep minimum 1.5 year experience, is it fine? I mean, if I change now,
Yeah, it's more than fine.
yeah.
I
Since I
have seen
came
a lot
from
of people
mainframe,
who are from mainframe background. They have in fact cracked. A couple of them are totally from mainframe. They have used they learned the tool, they specified some chunk of their experience on Blue Prism. They got that certified. So that's one of the things you have to do, get certified. And then you will not have any problem.
okay. And I mean, as you mentioned, first we getting familiar to Blue Prism. In that, you are going to cover all the, I mean, activities and about the tool,
Obviously,
what are the options and everything, right?
exactly. Yeah. I'll not explain one. That's the elementary stuff. What I'll be
Okay.
doing is I'll take examples and then in those examples I'll keep using this. Okay.
Okay. I mean, on your overall base
I'll be
also,
covering all
you
of them.
will be
Yes, exactly.
covering, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be covering and doing to be shortly.
Okay. Yeah.
So, can I get this all, I mean, classroom training teachers through mail, or how can we get this?
The Visualpath does record all the videos. They'll be sending on a weekly basis or any ad hoc. If you missed a class, immediately that day you can ask him. We'll send you the class, or on a weekly basis, I guess they'll send you all the videos. Or if you want a particular class you did not listen properly or did not understand, immediately you can call them. They'll send you that video. Apart from that, they'll send all the videos every week. Got it?
So, okay, every week there is.
Yeah. If you
Okay.
want then and there, that same class you missed or you did not understand, you just wanted to go before you get ready for the next class, you can call them up and then they'll immediately send you that. Either of that. Okay. All right, guys. Then
And
we
sir,
there are
one
no.
more doubt.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, I mean, how can we get the software and everything, sir?
There is an admin present in the Visualpath. He'll help you set up over the team viewer. So just get it installed. He will give you all the files, and then once you are done installation, he will connect with you or the team viewer, and then he'll install the license as well. Just to it's a that 15 minutes process. Okay.
Okay, okay.
All right, guys. Then so we'll catch up on the next class. All right. So.